if you're, as a guy, if you're raising a child that you think is yours but is not, that's pretty much the biggest L that you can take.
I also think it's a way that in society people like use to control and oppress women as well as that.
Wait, what?
Like valuing
Monogamy?
virginity so much.
How does that oppress women?
Well, because sometimes they'll be told that they're worth less if they have that, or they'll be controlled and only have certain things that they can do because on the basis that they need to maintain their virginity.
Well, I mean, okay, so there's a religious component that I suppose started about 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
I think chastity was valued up until very recently for both men and women for religious reasons, chiefly. Although that's kind of been eroded away by modernity, I guess you could say. But
I mean, I think if you want to look at like male-female sexual relations for 99.999% of human history, you need to get out of the mindset of like our modern dynamic. Right now, we've got birth control, we've got abortions, we've got so many things that you can use to sort of interfere with that natural system. But that's not how it was for most of human history. Like as a man, if you are going to be raising a child, you want to make sure with 100% certainty it is your child. You don't want a woman that is sleeping with multiple men because then you don't know what's going on, right? And so this is one of the reasons why virginity is so valuable back in the day.
I understand that, and I think that that's true. I'm just saying I feel like that can be used like on the guise of that to like control women as well, like more so.
I think that, like Brian pointed out, I think that
a women being abused or not having say over themselves because that is like the main thing that men are concerned about is her virginity, and that can go above her like condition and her right.
Well, Matt brought up
history.
Matt brought up a really good point about birth control, and so ignoring the paternity uncertainty thing, this was something that would fall more so upon women. If you engaged in sex with somebody prior to there being birth control, like pretty good chance you might get pregnant and can't get abortions are fairly, there's history. But in any case, without birth control and without abortion, there wasn't 300 years ago, if you have sex with somebody, like not really a way out if you get pregnant, or there's not really a way to prevent a pregnancy. So I don't think it's about control. It's just the biological reality that if you get pregnant, like that's kind of a big deal. And especially without modern healthcare too.
I think
like the healthcare, if you got pregnant as a woman, like, bro, there's a chance you can die.
I think that you can imagine in a world, like let me ask you this, in a world where there's no birth control and you've got a very high risk of getting pregnant if you have sex with a man, are you going to be as promiscuous in that world as you are in this world? Probably not, because there's a very high chance that man you just had sort of casual, promiscuous, flippant sex with, you might get pregnant. You might be tied down for life with that man. You got to carry his child into the world and deal with that man for the rest of your life. And so it's from a female's point of view also, 100 years ago, 200, 300, 400, 1,000 years ago. As a woman, you probably don't want to be promiscuous either. It's not a man keeping you down. It's you don't want to be promiscuous, because if you have sex with that man, you might be tied down forever with that guy. You bring his child into this world. Your body gets pregnant. You go through crazy changes, right? It's in the woman's interest, back then at least, a different conversation now that we have birth control, I guess. But for most human history, it's in the woman's interest to not be promiscuous either. It's in the man's and the woman's.
Well, actually, it wasn't, according to research, it really wasn't until the 18th century, during the movement of Romanticism, that people started really getting into monogamy. Like when the Romanticism movement started, that's when people started really giving into the idea of having their one true love and their one true soulmate. But prior to the 18th century and the 17th century,
people were just f***ing like crazy.
I don't think that's true at all.
Monogamy, people weren't super into monogamy like we are now today.
It's different, because it was, what you're talking about is people talking about finding their true love or their soulmate. Whereas before, it wasn't so much based on initial feelings or romanticizing a relationship, and more about just that dying commitment that this is my spouse and I'm going to learn to love them and commit to love them for the rest of my life. And there was like a lot less, fairy tale, glitter, rosy colored glasses around the idea of love and sacrifice.
I feel like
arranged marriages and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like prior to the Romanticism movement, people more so got married for logistics. Because I feel like there was research that I saw that
What's the purpose of marriage? What do you say?
I feel like just financial reasons.
To raise
like
kids?
I feel like to raise kids.
Okay.
It's easier to raise kids when you're married, I feel like.
So I mean, you mentioned logistic reasons.
Logistics,
But,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, to raise kids.
Yeah. But with the history of monogamy, prior to 1 AD, before Christianity started becoming, more of a thing, monogamy really wasn't that common.
Where?
According to
Where?
history, like around the world, I feel like monogamy, based on the research that I've personally seen, and you guys can, of course, fact check it. Based on the research that I've seen, like monogamy wasn't really, this thing that was going around the world until the 1850s, when Western imperialism became a thing, and
That's
white
not
people
I mean,
just
this is
started
just-
going around the world saying, "Oh, monogamy is the way to go," because
This is
I
just
don't
not.
understand.
This is just not true at all, though. If you look at
Yeah, it's not
pre-biblical
true.
India, they're pro-monogamy. If you read the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita, they're talking about monogamy. They're talking about the beauty and sanctity of a male-female relationship. If you look at,
Actually, the Quran describes it beautifully, and commentary on the Quran, it describes marriage as two souls becoming one essence, which is really beautiful.
I feel like the spread of disease is also a big driver for monogamy.
Yeah, that's a really good point you bring up there. If you're monogamous,
But people
Little
who are
harder.
non-monogamous and practice non-monogamy,
It should
when
be.
they have sex with other people, they know to use protection. Whereas
You can-
people, I know of a lot of people who are in monogamous relationships who still end up getting STDs because when their partners
Sure.
cheat on them, they're not using protection.
Then
yeah,
that
but
would
you
be
can
non-monogamous.
also get cheated on in a non-monogamous relationship too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would take a lot of trust.
And then also, I mean, certainly the odds of getting an STD is, I would say, it's greater in non-monogamous relationships than monogamous relationships.
is.
But you mentioned protection. I mean, protection is not foolproof deterrent to getting an STD.
No, but it's a preventative measure.
It is a preventative measure, but like take, for example, herpes. You can, even if you're wearing a condom, like you can still get herpes. Like, cause you could have an outbreak like on the base of the fucking, am I gonna describe the anatomy here?
break too,
But I mean, let's also be honest too. Like people really be out here fucking without condoms. Like, let's be honest. Come on.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Come
think-
on. Look at the smile on their face. They be,
I mean, it
she'd
feels
be fucking
better.
without a condom. Come on, bro.
I feel like the problem isn't about monogamy or non-monogamy because I think everyone assumes a certain